once you've made money, you can always make money again. Don't get involved with losers. Always set your goals down. Always set your goals down of what you want from the business. And managed to rip us off to the tune of 600 grand. Businesses fail, there's not an issue with it. But don't let it get you down. Yeah. What you need to do is get on the horse again. An old salesman once said to me, do the things you don't like doing first, and then the rest of your days are dawdle.
Steve, do you want to introduce yourself?
I certainly will. My name's Steve Hurst, or Stephen if I'm in trouble. I'm 66 years old and have been in business the majority of my life. I've run multiple businesses, but really only started to run a business of my own from when I was age 35. Before that, I actually worked for other people, and obviously the constraints that you get with that as far as creativity and what you can do. But what I did do in that time was learn how to run a business. So looking at the correct ways of how people have run a business and the bad ways. So learn the right things to do and the wrong things to do. Still made mistakes along the way. Some of the businesses that I have not been successful, which is always saddening, but they're always learning curves. And you've got to think in life that whatever situation you're in, good or bad, you've got to learn from it.
Failures are just opportunities to learn, aren't they?
Oh, 100%, yeah.
But you said something there that I didn't actually know about you. So you said you worked for other people until you were about 35, 36.
Yes. So majority of the time that I worked in the mobile phone industry. Mm-hmm. And I was at a reasonably high level. So I was a kind of a general manager for the companies, but I started off really literally selling mobile phones.
And just kind of worked your way up.
And just work my way up.
Yeah.
What we used to do then was we would get a contract from Sugarcoat, who are now BT, mm-hmm. and we would get an amount for renewing a contract. So we had telesales teams. So it gave me an experience to learn how to deal with people, how to arrange contracts, how to deal with suppliers, all these things that you do in a business generally. But the product can be anything, the sales can be anything, but then you've got to learn how to. One clever trick that we did, which I thought was a clever idea from me, was we would normally sell one-to-one. So if you were a client and in a business, I would sell you one mobile phone. So there's a principle that we say in sales is taking away. So what we used to do was ring the customer up and say, I'm sorry, but I can only deal with you if you're going to buy 4 phones from me.
Okay.
Now, nice. All of a sudden, our ratio of phones that we sold went up.
So you're like your minimum average
our
order.
Minimum order would always be 4 and above.
Yeah.
Whereas before, we might sell 1. But by putting that parameter down, it just made a massive difference. So our company went really, really well. We got taken over by a company over in Yorkshire, but always my side of it was to think about how I could end up with a business of my own. At one time, I'd sold insurance for mm-hmm. Prudential. Their sales techniques are second to none, and in any business, you're selling yourself and your business. So I put the Prudential sales techniques down to my success later on in life.
I find it quite interesting how you've leveraged other people's businesses to teach yourself how to run your own and then decided to go and run your own.
Yeah, the problem is I was married very young. Mm-hmm. So with a young family as well, you have to kind of look after that side first. So it was a question of I couldn't afford to have my own business straight away.
Yeah.
But what I thought very early on is I can learn the right and the wrong way to run a business. And that's the reason why my success within those businesses meant that I always rose to the top.
Yeah.
And I could always kind of influence people lower. So I was always on par to run a business, but without the finance behind me at that time.
Yeah, you basically taught yourself how to run a business without the risk of
your own
money.
Time. Yes.
So then what actually made you decide to make the change and take the leap and start your own?
Right. So Again, I was in the mobile phone business.
Yeah.
Somebody had asked me to splinter away and become a director of a business in the mobile phone industry. So that's what I did. So for 3 years, I effectively run a business that I was a partner in.
Yeah.
And that means that, it was my own business.
So that was taking an opportunity that was presented to you.
That was presented to me. Now, within that business, we got involved with some insurance companies, and I found myself leaning towards insurance products, being able to sell those products in a way that was quite clever for the personal injury market.
Mm-hmm.
So we got offered an insurance policy. I took that on board, set my first business up selling insurance policies to solicitors for personal injury.
Yeah.
And that was our first success. Just after that, we then got offered some funding and insurance for people who wanted to buy their own houses. People who are council tenants, they couldn't afford to buy their own house.
Yeah.
So what we did, we facilitated at the front end a solicitor, mortgage broker, and all this. But this was back in the day when you could get a mortgage of 120%. So it was really easy for us to get a mortgage for anyway. I could get a mortgage for a tramp on the street at the time.
Yeah.
So we made quite a substantial amount of money being able to facilitate those council tenants and put them through. Unfortunately, that's a business fail because one of the partners managed to rip us off to the tune of 600 grand.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's a big loss, but at the time, it wasn't a big loss. But the loss was that business model collapsed, which was a shame.
But you gained so much more than that anyway, just from
starting. To be honest, any failure in a business, like in America, I don't think they lend you serious money until you've been bankrupt 3 times.
Yeah.
So if you have a failure, you then, if you've got the right mindset, a positive mindset, you literally start again, but from a clean slate. And once you've made money, you can always make money again because you've got the formula in your head.
It's definitely a skill set, isn't it? A lot of people say that, you'll never make money, but I don't believe that. I think you just need to learn how to.
It is. You're 100%. It is
it's
a
like
skill
riding
set.
a bike.
It's like riding a bike. Once you've done it, you literally don't forget. And then it's just making sure you've got the opportunities in front of you. While you're making your money, you're making networks. You're building networks. You're building a network of people around you that you can trust. That's the most important bit.
Yeah.
So have people that you can trust around you and can give you good counsel and give you good advice. What I always say is don't get involved with losers. Yeah. Don't get involved with people who've got negative ideas and negative views. You want positive mental attitude. And you'll only get that from positive people. And if you're in a strong network, all of a sudden opportunities open up for you.
This is something I haven't asked you, but how do you actually find those people? Where do they hang out? Where do they go?
Where do they go? Right. So a lot of the times you go into restaurants and things like that, you'll see successful people around you. Mm-hmm. Make friends.
Yeah.
Make friends. Be friendly. Be sociable. Don't be a recluse because you're not going to mix with anybody if you're that way inclined. As I said to you before, what you've got to look at is you're selling yourself as well as your business. Mm-hmm. So it's just a question of making sure 100% that you're with successful people. And then all of a sudden opportunities can come to you. So, I got involved in a business which I'm in now, which is eco. And that was only because I got an opportunity to go into a TV channel with somebody that I'd worked with. And he said, look, would you come into the TV channel? We did that for 10 years, but that opened up the door in the eco market.
Yeah.
The eco market's been going now for the past 15 years, and I've been ahead of that curve.
Lucky people create their own luck.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
People say that, he was just in the right place at the right time.
No.
But I bet you they put themselves there by doing the right thing.
Hard work.
Having the right habits.
Having the right habits. Meeting the right kind of people, dealing with the right kind of people, getting a bit of a nose for if somebody's good or bad. Mm-hmm. You get a feel for it, and don't take chances for taking chances' sake. Take a risk by all means. All entrepreneurs do, but make it a calculated risk.
Mm-hmm.
So the odds are in your favour. Listen, businesses fail. There's not an issue with it, but don't let it get you down.
Yeah.
What you need to do is get on the horse again.
I think a lot of people are afraid of failure.
And I think that's probably part of why they work for somebody else.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. You will never succeed if you don't fail. It's all about being positive, pushing your own dreams forward. And I think it's important that you do things for yourself as well. You'll find entrepreneurs are quite selfish people, and they make their own decisions. Listen to other people. This is where I'm saying about having good counsel, but listen to yourself first.
One other thing that I wanted to talk to you about. So you ran multiple companies.
Yes.
A lot of the times, probably maybe intertwining at the same time.
They're all, yeah. No, normally one company will support another company. For example, the channel, TV channel.
Yeah.
TV channels don't make money.
Yeah.
But what it did do is gave us an opportunity for lead generation.
Mm-hmm.
So any businesses that we had in and around the channel were successful because we could generate our own
so
leads.
You were supplementing other businesses.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter whether the channel worked or not. Sometimes what we call a loss leader, you have something that may lose money, but it will benefit something else.
Yeah.
So look at opportunities like that.
No, that's really good. So you were managing a few different businesses at the same time. Maybe they were supplementing each other. But
yeah.
What was your kind of day-to-day life like then? Like, when did you wake up? When did you go to sleep?
So waking up, I've always woke up early.
Yeah.
And you kind of brain gets in gear.
Mm-hmm.
So 6 o'clock in the morning. Some people wake up earlier than that, but 6 o'clock is my kind of time. Cup of tea, have a little think about things, and then it's work into work. So what I tend to do is I tend to go into an office. Some people work well at home. I don't. I like to be office based. Once I get in the office, I deal with the normal tasks that I have to do. An old salesman once said to me, do the things you don't like doing first, and then the rest of your day is a doddle. So if somebody had to be let go, or if there's issues that you had to deal with which were not nice to deal with, I would always deal with those first, get those out of the way, and then the rest of the day would be spent really looking at the business, strategizing the business, making sure that everybody was doing what they're supposed to do within the business. And then I had my little time, and I would normally do it with co-directors, and we'd be the creative side of it, looking how we can grow, which areas we could grow into, maybe what other businesses we could do. Because once you've got funds there, you need to use them, because otherwise they just literally splinter off and you don't get any benefit from them. So always make the money you've got and earning work for you.
Have you ever heard of the Eisenhower matrix?
No.
So my dad uses this a lot, and it's basically you've got 4 quadrants.
Yeah.
And each one of your tasks can be put into one of those quadrants. So you've got a scale of urgency on one side, and a scale of importance on the other side.
Yeah.
So the whole point of it is that the urgent, important stuff, that always gets sorted. Yeah. Because that's just how your brain works. Your brain thinks, oh, this needs to be sorted now. Right. That's what I'm going to do. So that would be like putting out fires in a business, or changing your tire, for example, if you've got a flat tire. It needs to be sorted now. The things that get pushed back are the important, unurgent.
I know what you're saying.
Because there's no deadline to it. Your brain isn't thinking this needs to get done now. But that important, unurgent stuff is what really kind of sets you up for the future. Yeah. So that would be like something like writing a book. Yeah. So there's no deadline for it, but if that book takes off, then it will be important for your future. Yeah. So that's really good. I like to split my tasks up.
I used to do something similar, which is obviously it's about lists, about time management. You've got to manage your time. Mm-hmm. You can't just squander it. Time is very important. So we do a list, but I would never ever focus on more than 3 important tasks within life, which is similar to what you're saying. Mm-hmm. You're kind of focusing by doing the list. You know what needs to be done. Yeah. But don't try and do all the lists. It's a question of making sure you prioritize what you need to. And like you say, it's about I like that idea. I like that idea of the quadrant.
It's quite
cool.
good. I can't remember
Yeah.
what it's on. I think it might be on the 7 Habits of Successful People, which is another great book you
Right.
should read.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I was going to say is here it is. It was about you know how you like to go into the office to work.
Yes.
There's a book called Atomic Habits
Okay.
by who's it by? James Clear, I think.
Right.
And he speaks about how different situations or places
Yes.
have different effects on your subconscious.
Right.
So your subconscious is telling you when you're at home, oh, pull your phone out, it's Instagram time or TV time.
Yeah.
Whereas when you go into an office, it's then that's the place to work. And then it's the same with like a gym versus working out at home.
Yeah.
So
No, I perfectly get that. I've always enjoyed going to a work environment, and once you're in work, then your head's in that gear,
It's work
in that
time
space.
then. There's no distractions.
Yeah.
There's something else about that. It's working from your bed is awful for you.
Yeah.
If you can, I'd get a desk and at least get out of the bed.
Get out of the bed and at least
if not the bedroom or the house.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. I mean, COVID was a classic example of people working from home.
Mm-hmm.
And what's happened is there's been then a misconception that, well, people can work from home comfortably. And, you've got the same efficiencies, etc. I don't agree with that. I think if a lot of solicitors, friends that I know of in London, they've, closed their offices. They don't have to pay the big mortgages on them or the big rentals. And they've got people working from home. They are not as efficient and not as controlled as if they're working in an office environment.
I can't say for other people, but I definitely prefer working in an office. I like that separation. It's the same with a gym. A home workout just doesn't do it for me. But if I go to the gym, I know I'm going to the gym to work out.
And to be fair, you've got all the tools in the gym and all the tools.
That's another good analogy, actually.
And all the tools at the office, whereas you don't have that at home. It's not the same. You might have a computer and you might have a little, but printing documents and legal and things that you would need, staplers and all, they're all going to be in the office.
Yeah.
So and I think your analogy of the gym is quite good. You have your weights and everything. You can have a fantastic home gym, but it's never the same as going to a gym. And there's also a massive thing, which is the social side of work. Why do people go to work in an office? Because you've got a big social side.
Yeah.
This is part of why people are now saying they've got mental health issues, because when you're on your own, you can't deal with it. If you've got somebody you go into work to and you can have a rant or you can have a conversation or you can, give them some, it's a lot better socially, mentally for your workforce.
No, definitely. Yeah. No, I think it's a good thing going into the office. If you can, I would. There's I watch a lot of YouTube, and there's a great YouTube channel called Starter Story.
Right.
He basically goes and interviews people on how they started their companies.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
There was a really good one about how I can't remember what it's called. It was like how Starbucks made me a millionaire.
Oh, right.
So basically, what he would do is from his work, every time he'd walk back to his house, he'd pass a Starbucks. Yeah. And then he said to himself, every day after work, I'm going to stay in that Starbucks and just do an hour of work. And then he basically, it was his story. It was how he made Starter Story. Right. So he used to just go into the Starbucks somewhere separate from where he used to relax or do his work. And that then became his habit. So he would go to Starbucks, write a blog about how someone had started.
Ah, right.
But just by putting himself in that different place, he's created a brand new set of habits that steer him towards success.
I like that. That's good. It's interesting because, like you say, it's your mindset, isn't it? You're saying about meditation, 5 minutes meditation a day. Part of that is that creative juices go with meditation, don't they?
Yeah.
So, that habit that you then, so you're giving yourself 5 minutes off. The other thing that I used to do was I would diarise if I wanted to have time off for myself in the day, or I would diarise everything that I was going to do so that I knew I set it down. Always set your goals down. Always set your goals down of what you want for the business, and get people believing that side of it.
Yeah.
And that organises your day. That organises your day.
I've got some of that started doing recently. It's I've got a pack of post-it notes on my desk
Right.
at all times.
Yeah.
So anything that basically I start my day and I write down what I want to do on that post-it note,
Yeah.
and then cross them off
As you
cross
go
them
on,
off as I
yeah.
go off. And then when the day's over, I just throw it in the bin and then
Yeah.
start a new one.
And start your new day.
But that gives me like 5 tasks that I need to do that day.
Yes.
And I make sure I get through the list.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really like post-it notes.
Yeah. No, I think listen, it's having a little bit of structure.
Yeah.
And then what you can do is you can give yourself a little bit of time off for the creative side, because you need to have strategy and you need to have a bit of creative side for your business. And I think that's always been a good side for me, that I've always been able to do that.
Yeah.
And I've always had people that I've worked with or partners that I've been able to sit down with, and we can, a whiteboard is a fantastic tool.
Yeah.
Probably something different nowadays, but it is a fantastic tool, because what you can do on a whiteboard, get your ideas down there, get somebody else involved in it. Once you're bouncing off each other, it's surprising what you can actually achieve.
Yeah. No, I used to have a big whiteboard, but I gave it to my mum, and I wish I'd kept it now.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I've got my office upstairs. I've got a little whiteboard. You'll see me scribble on there daily.
Oh, I think it's good to just have these little bits of not even like control, but just clarity on something else that's not your mind. So even if it's just a bit of paper, but something where you can see what you need to do.
Well, learning is a repetition thing, isn't it? And what they do in schools, which is quite right, is they get you to write something down. They do that for a reason, because you can think it, you can say it, but once you write it down, it kind of enforces it a little bit more, doesn't it?
Yeah. So this podcast is basically interviewing or having a conversation with anyone who's fits one of 3 criteria. So it's anyone who's into health and fitness, or wealth and time management, and kind of taking control of life in terms of freedom.
Yes.
So I think you probably most qualify for the wealth section.
Thank you. Yeah.
I think that's safe to say. So if you had one piece of advice for anyone that's looking to increase their level of wealth, what would that be?
I'd say work hard, be happy in what you're doing. So want to get involved in that product, service, whatever you want to do. And by doing that, if you're enjoying doing it, you will be successful.
So you're saying, like, basically have a genuine interest in what you're doing. Don't do it for the sake of getting money.
Don't do it if you do it for the sake of getting money, you'll probably not get money.
Yeah.
But if you do it from, I would say from the heart, it sounds a bit soppy that, but what I'm saying is if you do it with a passion, then I think it will succeed then. It's like anything in life, isn't it? If you do something with a passion, it will always succeed. Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that there's parts of that you don't want to do. Like, no one wants to do their accounting or...
No, you're right. But
the general idea of it, you really want to...
Yeah, you want to enjoy what you... And if you look at any successful entrepreneur, any person, they've been interested in that.
Yeah, they're obsessed.
Obsessed with it, aren't they? And it is obsessed, but they've got a genuine interest. They've worked hard. Working hard doesn't mean like breaking rocks and things like that. It means you'll put the time and the effort in to doing what you need to do to succeed.
It's getting that important, not urgent stuff. It's that stuff that is definitely going to improve your life, but there's no real deadline to it. You need to focus on that. Yeah.
100%.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Steve.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. Steve and I see each other almost every week.
So every week, yeah.
He'll probably be on the podcast again. So.